This is the How'd You Do It podcast, and I'm your host, Lyle Wilkes. I believe that people have more to offer and knowledge to share than they ever give themselves credit for. So with that, my goal is to deep dive into the success stories of business owners, entrepreneurs, and community icons so they can share the road they traveled and what they learned along the way. Welcome to episode 3 of How'd You Do It podcast. On today's episode, I've got a good friend of mine, Don Duncan. He owns Don Duncan All-American Tire and Auto. He has spent 37 years in the automotive industry. He is a wealth of knowledge and just a fantastic individual. He's got this reputation in the community of just helping others and being that guy you want to see at the grocery store. His company has won multiple awards over the years, and also the business he owns gives so much back to the community. I look up to him a lot. I think he's a fantastic individual, and I can't wait for you guys to hear from him. Don, I'm glad to have you on. I think that, I'm just happy to have you as a friend too. And I wanted to get you on here because you have tons and tons and tons of experience in the automotive field, in the industry. And I think you've got the conversations I've had with you, since we became closer and we joined the group and got to know each other a little better, is that you've brought so much knowledge to me. I was like, I've got to have you on here. So
thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. So was automotive like the service industry, because you own Don Duncan All-American Tire, was that, did you always want to be in the automotive field or?
I guess I grew up in it.
Yeah.
My dad was in the tire business, in the retread business. Worked for him, went to work with one of the corporate locations. I've been in it about 37 years now.
Okay. Was that like the only thing your dad did when you grew up with it? Or,
Pretty much.
Pretty much?
That was not my passion coming out of high school. I thought I wanted to be into computer programming. Anybody knows me how tech illiterate I am now.
Yeah.
But I liked 2 quarters at that time, graduating. Decided that my personality didn't fit in a cubicle.
Yeah.
And went this direction, and once I got in it, I just loved it. I love helping people.
Yeah.
I love vehicles, so the two just combine great.
Now, right out of high school, you were working with your father.
Correct.
Right? How long did that go on?
About 5 years.
5 years.
And actually, they had an opening for a salesperson, and I asked the person that owned the company. I said, I think if you'd spend some time with me, I could learn how to do that. And the next day we had a meeting, and he said, I don't think that's a good idea.
Really?
He sure did.
Why did he say? Because you're you're the guy everyone comes up and talks to, and you're the first person to approach people. Like you're a great communicator.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, I would feel like.
He said that he felt like he had invested too much in me and what I was doing, which was behind the scenes, retreading tires, and he just didn't think that was a good idea. So the next day I went and applied for a job with a corporate company, and they hired me, and
where you went?
Rest is history, right?
Yeah. Now was that still local as far as with the corporate company?
I worked for them. Yeah, they hired me in Montgomery. I worked 1 week, and they transferred me to LaGrange, Georgia.
Oh.
And then I spent 8 months in LaGrange, and then I went to Columbus from there, and just climbed the ladder with them. And within 8 months, we were a store manager.
Okay, so literally you got the sales position, and 8 months later you were managing people.
Correct.
How was the difference? But stay on the sales path with me in the service industry. What is sales like as far as in the automotive field? Because I think when people think of I'm going to get my car worked on, they don't think of sales.
Right.
So what was that? That was a big learning curve coming from retreading tires to, dealing with the public, or?
Well, luckily, my dad was a minister. So I grew up always learning to meet people.
Yeah.
And my sales technique was different. I don't sell. I'm like you. I try to build relationships.
Yeah.
And then advise people, let them know what needs to be done, and let them make their choices. But give them education as to what needs to be done and why.
Okay.
So that's not a lot of selling. I would rather you make the choice.
That's it, and I think I am in the sales industry. Right. I own a real estate company. I sell, but
you advise. You've advised me.
Exactly. And I think sales is a lot of communication.
Correct.
And the way I have kind of wrapped it up, the the best metaphor I can give is you've been in a Mexican restaurant, right? And they've got like 100 different choices.
Right.
And how long does it take you to make a decision? A
Yeah.
long time, right?
Correct.
You've been to like a 5-star dining restaurant, though, right?
Yes.
Easy, like 5 choices.
Right.
Which one's the better experience?
No,
Fine dining, right?
Right.
Exactly. And so with the fine dining, I feel like it is my job as a salesperson is to clear the variables,
Correct.
right? And you only do that through education and information.
Right.
And so then you lead them to a point where they can make a decision. That's sales 101.
that's exactly what we do.
Yeah.
As far as when we're advising, with repairs, it's pretty straightforward. But with tires, there's so many options, and we do exactly what you do, and we try not to give more than 3 options.
Yeah.
And depends on what the customer is looking for as to what we lead them toward.
Gotcha. Yeah. So with you spent 8 months in the sales. Was it like obviously it was a pretty fast uptick as far as you go from sales to managing, but what was the transition from salesperson to manager? What was that difference like?
Well, and luckily, and I was blessed and did what I was asked to do. At the same time, I got put in that position as a younger guy. And so the biggest deal is the transition from, working with people to now I'm supervising people older than me. And that was the transition to me is letting them coming in fresh. The folks that I went to manage did not know me.
Yeah.
And had to prove to them that they could trust me even though I was younger than them. So I had to sell myself to the guys I was working with first before I could take it and lead the team.
How old were you when this was going on?
26.
26. Okay. And so, of course, the guys were probably in 30s, 40s,
Yes,
50s,
correct.
stuff like that. So
Also had a female assistant, which that blew me away. I'd not seen many women that were in that, but she was great at what she did.
yeah. And so how did you build the trust for the people you were managing, especially because I experienced that too,
Right.
you know?
Yeah,
And
sure.
So how do you build that trust? What was that like?
Well, I had to prove myself.
How did you prove yourself?
Again, coming in, we could say it's sales, but basically coming in fresh, and the guy that had been managing that store had been there 12 years prior to me coming there. So I just had to go in and first try to build a relationship with them, but you can see it in their eyes that, yeah, right, yeah, sounds good. But then when I went in and sat down with the first 3 or 4 people and went over there and showed them, I like painting a picture or either taking someone outside and showing them what's wrong with their vehicle. Then there's not a lot of communication gap.
Yeah.
I can take it, I can show it to you. Here's what it's doing, and then they would want to repair whatever was necessary. Then the guys get behind me and say, okay, he does get this.
So you led by example.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
That's the easiest way.
Yeah. Yeah. And you show, don't tell.
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah. And so you managed there for how long with this corporation?
In that location, I was there for only maybe 8 months, and a better opportunity came along.
Okay.
And so I left to go with a different company. And so for 3 years, I was bouncing, but every time I was bouncing up.
Yeah. I think that's typical in your field too.
And at that age, you're trying to prove yourself. So when I look at a resume, when somebody comes in looking for a job with us, I don't judge them because they were changing jobs a lot. If you see that they're progressing,
Yeah.
if they're changing a lot of jobs and going to different fields, then I don't know about this guy. But if you're progressing and you can see that you're climbing a ladder in what you're doing, then you remind me of me.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. So you kept moving around corporations, and how did you get to opening up Don
Okay,
Duncan?
fair enough.
Yeah.
All right.
How'd you get
We spent
Don-
about 3 to 4 years,
Yeah.
and I spent most of that time in Georgia with different, I keep saying corporations. I started out with Firestone, left them and went to another company, and then wound up with Goodyear. The whole time, the carrot was to get back home. And that's what they would use for me. Hey, if you'll go here and fix this, we'll get you back there.
So
Well,
I want to stay on that. So you were the person they sent in to kind of turn around stores.
correct.
Right? Okay.
Correct.
Yeah.
And go
So
fix
you gained
this.
a lot of valuable
Perfect.
experience.
Exactly.
It sets yourself up for
Exactly.
success.
Instead of going into places that everyone else had done great,
Yeah.
let's go to somewhere that hadn't done so well. What's the worst thing that can happen?
Yeah.
You can stay where it's at, or we can take it and turn it around and build a name for yourself. And the problem with that was everybody come up with an excuse why I didn't need to come home. So actually, I just got fed up with that. Mitch was young, and I wanted to get back home where we had family.
Yep.
And so I came back to Montgomery on an off day, started bouncing around. Actually went into a business that you worked for in the past
Yeah.
with the old owners.
Yeah.
And he didn't have an opening, but he said, give me 3 months. Well, I found someone else that offered me a job that day,
Yeah.
moved back to Montgomery, worked for them for 17 years. And then we started this in September of '06.
Okay. September of '06. So so you were still under, you didn't own the location when you came back home. We'll call it home
I
here in
worked for
Montgomery.
an independent in Montgomery.
Okay. All right.
They were huge into tires, had a great reputation with tires, but they were wanting to get into the service side. They just didn't understand it all,
Yeah.
and that was kind of my strength.
Yeah.
And we made a good team.
Yeah.
And like I say, I came in for that to be a temporary thing to get back to Montgomery, and it wound up 17 years later. I had worked for the guy, and he'd been good to me, and I think we did well for each other.
Yeah. Yeah. So when did you decide it was time to go off on your own?
Well, I had actually. That's an odd story too, but where we're at on Madison
Well, we
Avenue.
got time.
Okay,
We got
okay.
time. We got time. Yeah.
I
Don't
had
feel rushed.
actually tried to put it together in our Madison location 2 times prior to it all working out this time. So just because you get a no, don't quit trying. You
Yeah.
know, never give up. So 2 different times I tried to go into the Madison location. It had been sitting empty. It had been a Michelin TCI building. They'd moved out to the Northern Bypass over near UPS.
Yeah.
So the building sat there for about 4 years empty, and I'm thinking, it's downtown, it's right in the middle. How's nobody been in this building? But for one reason or another, the first 2 times I tried it, it didn't work out. Third time, like a charm, everything just fell into place. It was the right time, and we started rocking and rolling, and I was just hoping we'd eat. And
Yeah.
all you guys have been great to us. Everybody's been awesome to us.
Yeah.
We were blessed, and we've just grown from there.
What made you want to open up your own location? What was the desire versus, because I think you had a pretty strong career before you owned your own place.
Right.
So what was the determining factor of like, okay, I want to go out on my own?
Sure. And sort of like you, I learned things that if I ever got the opportunity that I think are great at people had done around me, and I also learned things that I would not want to do if I had my option to do things. And I just felt like I could do things a little different, and that's the reason it took so long to get where I was. I was asked why I'd not ever done it, and I didn't want to do it like everybody else. I wanted to be different, and I had a plan. And honestly, we started out by a customer asking me that question: how come you hadn't ever done this? And I said, well, just what I said. I didn't want to do it like everybody else. I want to be different. And he says, well, what you got on your mind? I went through the plan. Didn't know at the time just how successful he'd been.
Yeah.
And he said, well, you know a place? I said, yes, sir. And I had worked on his car that day. Can you show me? Sure. So I rode down to Madison, showed him that place, and he said, are you interested in a partner? And I said, I've never thought about it. He said, let's go talk about it. Let's go eat lunch tomorrow and see what happens. The next day,
Yeah.
we become a partnership. And his knowledge of financial, I learned a lot from him. Very smart. Never flaunted what he had done, but
Yeah.
he'd been very, very successful. So I learned from him. And in '06, excuse me, we purchased that partnership, and it became just ours. But yeah, he was able to help me get into business, and I was able to do it the way I wanted to with his help.
What was some of the things when you started, like when you went off on your own, what were the things that you wanted to change within the industry? Like
Sure.
when you said, like, obviously you've seen tons of wrong ways of doing it, So what were the things you wanted to change?
And I got criticized by people in the business for a couple of things we did. One of the things we started is when we came in, with your oil change, we would give you a free rotation and a free safety inspection. So you'd know about your car. I've got your tires off anyway if I'm inspecting the car, so why charge you to rotate the tires? And folks were saying, well, why are you giving something away you can sell? Well, it was more about giving better service and, excuse me, and just doing something different.
Yeah.
We also, since we've opened, we've never charged for flat repairs unless it's something odd.
Yeah.
And same thing, well, you can charge $20 for a flat repair. Da 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 da. Well, you're not going to get rich on that $20. So why can't I do something different and provide a service, and hopefully that person will remember us when they do need something. And I can't tell you how many times people have came back and purchased tires from us because of a free flat repair.
Yeah.
But people in our business just thought I was crazy giving something away you could sell. I'm like you. I try to be out of the box. I don't want to be like everybody else.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people get hung up on that dollar figure, right? And they wanna monetize everything today, and they lose sight of that 3 to 5 year plan.
Correct.
You know, like I would much rather in my business sell, you know, an entire family's generation through the years.
Correct.
Versus just make a lot of money off one sale.
Yes.
That doesn't make any, you know, that's very short term thinking, you know. And I think, you know, relationships gets mentioned a lot in businesses, but that's how you build relationships is by giving. You know, you have to be able to show transparency, and what better way than offering something free.
And you and I are involved in something, and giver's gain is the motto. And I've tried to believe and put that in our workforce from day one.
Yeah. So, all right. So 2006 was when you bought out the partnership, or is that?
No, that's when we got started.
That's when Don Duncan All American Tire got started.
Correct.
Okay.
But in April of 2013, it was ours.
Gotcha. So you bought out the partner
Correct.
in 13, just decided to go separate ways.
Correct.
Half okay.
Nothing negative, just, we outgrew each other.
And that happens, right?
Right.
Yeah, for sure. And so what, from 2006, we'll leave that timeline, 2006 to 13, tell me what happened.
Okay. As far as the company?
Yeah, as far as the company and the growth, because how many locations do you have now? We
have 3.
Yeah.
And we've had other locations. Some work out, some don't, but you don't know till you try.
Yeah. So let's roll this back. When did the second location open up?
That was an odd thing too. We had started in September of 2006. A friend of mine that had a business next door to where I came from walks in November of 2006 and says, "Don, I want you to take over my business." And I said, "I just started this. So I'm not ready for something else." He said, "I'm gonna make you an offer you can't say no to." So he did, and we tried it, but it was an older building. Couldn't clean it up. We invested in the building to try to make it look better, but just couldn't make it work. So that didn't work. But then
how important is how much of an importance do you put on the presentation of buildings in like a shop environment? Because you said the building was too dirty. Well, most mechanic shops you walk into and it's a mechanic shop, right? They call them grease monkeys for a reason, right?
Right.
You know, so why is that important?
Well, when they say location, and first impression, that's in anything. My wife has been a big help because I've always catered to her. And what I do for a living has a negative tone to it.
Sure.
Because of in some places they've taken advantage of females.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to do just the opposite, so I involved Margie in, hey, what can we do to attract the females and show them that that's not who we are, and they can get a different experience from us. Well, if you drive in and it looks nasty from the outside, how are they going to take care of your car? That would be my impression, and that's what she said.
Yeah.
She said, you want to make sure that they want to be in your building first, and they want to walk in, and they don't want to trip over this or that getting into the place. So I've used her as my soundboard.
Yeah.
And she gives great knowledge in some cases.
Yeah.
Till I get home.
Yeah, for sure. So, okay, so tell me, I didn't mean to cut you off,
That's
but
fine.
when did the second location start? You said the guy came in and
by December of 3 months after we opened, we had that open. We kept it open for about 2 years, and like I say, I tried and it just didn't work. So,
what do you think made it didn't work?
Just the environment.
Really?
We just couldn't put it together. So maybe within 3 months of that, we had another opportunity down in front of Eastdale Mall, and we opened it. It did great, but I was renting that location. Excuse me. And a friend of mine owned the property where we are on Bell Road, and he was wanting to know if I'd be interested in buying that from him, and it would be ours versus renting. So we got off of Atlanta Highway and bought the property on Bell Road, and we just moved that location from Atlanta Highway to Bell Road, and it was a great transition.
Okay. Is that location still open?
It is.
Okay.
2700 Bell Road.
Okay. Awesome.
So it's been there. We've been there 15 years.
15. Yeah, you've had a lot of success over
We've been blessed. Now,
Yeah.
we made some mistakes too,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
some things just didn't work out, but
How did you deal with the mistakes, like with the location? Because a lot of people, when they hit those milestones and it doesn't work out, they normally just retreat and go do something different or pivot entirely. You know, what was your mindset through that?
yeah, that's not my mindset.
Yeah.
I have your mindset. Okay, that didn't work.
Yeah.
Don't know why,
Yeah.
but that doesn't mean the next one doesn't work.
Gotcha.
You know, just let's learn from whatever
Yeah.
didn't work and make sure we do something different this time.
How do you keep yourself, like, in a personal standpoint, not a company standpoint, but keeping cool, calm, collective, and going through those milestones? Like, how do you, like, we'll call it faith, right?
Sure.
How do you keep that faith?
Oh, well, I definitely have a faith in God, and I've been blessed. My dad, I guess I got his attitude.
Yeah.
I'm not a worrier. Things happen for a reason.
Yeah.
I don't understand it. You know, there may be something that doesn't happen positive, and I may not understand why, but it is what it is, so we can either whine about it or we can go forward and find something else.
And I like it. I like it a lot. So, okay, so you had second location open, and then Witt started the third location. What's number 3? Like, where?
Well, we've had some that worked and some that didn't.
Okay.
The third one was in Prattville.
Okay.
It did awesome, but another learning curve. Excuse me, let me get some water. real quick.
Get some water, man. Yeah. It's that time of year, you know, like it's that cold, and also Alabama. It was hot and cold. What was it, like 70 degrees 2 days ago?
Right.
Yeah. So.
Okay, sorry about that.
No, you're good.
Well, we opened one in Prattville, and it did great. But
Yeah.
what I learned, I was blessed and had the opportunity to do what we're doing. So when we would open new stores, I would put the manager's name on the sign instead of mine. Like it would be Lyle's All-American Auto and Tire.
Oh, okay. All right.
Well, I thought that was a positive, and it was a good ego thing for the managers.
Yeah.
But I'd never thought, okay, what if the manager decides he wants to do something different?
Oh,
I've sold him
yeah.
instead of us.
Yeah.
And that's what happened in Prattville. The guy that was the manager of that store was a great guy, did an awesome job. But it came a time when he felt like it was time for him to go do his own thing.
Yeah.
Well, I had sold him for 4.5 years instead of us.
So.
And so I couldn't turn around and tell people, well, that's not good anymore, because he was a good guy and did
Yeah.
a great job. So, we didn't own that property. So there was 6 months left on the lease. When the lease played out, I just thought it was time, right then was not the time to stay in Prattville. So once the lease, we just moved out of
Gotcha.
town.
Did-
I'd love to get back in Prattville now, though, if the right location came along.
Yeah. Yeah. So with did he decide to go do something different?
Correct.
Okay.
He went in business for himself.
Okay.
And he
All
was successful at what he did.
Okay. Yeah. So how do you deal with how do you deal with people leaving you? Because like as a business owner, you're probably, and I'm going to assume I'm right on this, you're pouring into people, making them better.
Correct.
Just like you said earlier that you look for people in that growth pattern. And I
Right.
think you encourage that.
We do.
And so how do you deal with, someone else leaving? How do you deal with that?
Well, again, I'm not a worrier. And you're right, I do coach that. I coach my guys, brand yourself, brand yourself, brand yourself. So it makes me feel good when I hear someone ask one of my employees that has not been in our location before, are you the owner or are you the manager? Even if they're not, that tells me they're treating people right, you know, and they're also building their brand, their personal brand, and people are going to want to come back and deal with that person. But to answer your question, I guess I did the same thing.
Yeah.
So I don't hold that against someone else.
Yeah.
Now we weigh out if someone wants to leave. Hey, are you ready? Is this a positive thing? Let's think about this one.
Sure.
In the situation with Prattville, that guy was ready. I mean, he had done everything the right way. He'd done a good job. we didn't hurt. I mean, we helped because we promoted him instead of us,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
he did a great job.
Yeah.
So I'm lucky in the fact that we've not had much of that,
Yeah.
but there has been some, and I just give my honest opinion and say, hey, I think you're ready for this, or I don't know if that's a good idea just yet, and they'll either have to listen to me or not,
Yeah.
you know.
Figure it out on their own, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So, all right. So, third location in Prattville.
Mm-hmm.
He grew, decided to do his own thing. So you had to pull away from that.
Correct.
What's the next move?
Okay, so we sat there and just enlarged what we had. Like Madison, we opened. There was a Big Ten downtown years ago.
Okay.
We
I forgot about this.
we
Yeah.
opened it as an extension of Madison, which gave us 6 more bays down there, and just enlarged what we already had. You know, let's just
Yeah.
buckle down and do a better job of what we're doing until something good comes along. Goodyear pulls out of Montgomery, and we're an independent Goodyear dealer, so they tried to get us to take over both of their old locations. We waited out and had talked to the mayor at the time about what was possibly about to happen on the Southern Bypass over near the Montgomery Mall, those kinds of things, and all the plans that they had for that area. And so I decided that their McGee Road location might be worth turning around, and let's see if we can't be a part of that community over there and also get in before all these things happen.
Yeah.
Well, nobody's fault, but none of those things happened.
Yeah.
But we did go into McGee, the McGee Road store, and went at it hard. Went to all the HOAs in the
Yeah.
area monthly, just shaking hands and
Yeah.
trying to let folks know who we were. But again, that particular location had not been a positive location for Goodyear and had not had good employees in there. And even though we hung a different sign on it, I think people drove by and just remembered they got taken advantage of in that building. We did grow it. We tripled what the numbers were when we went in less than 2 years. But we just couldn't make it work.
Yeah.
Nobody's fault. It just didn't work. So we stayed for 2 years and had to move. But about that time, there was a guy advertising that he was closing his business and wanted to sell all of his equipment. And so I talked to a friend of mine, Butch. He's been with us for 16 years now. He was the manager of the Firestone on Madison when we opened that store. Within a year of us opening that store, he became part of our team. He retired with Firestone, came across the street, and he's been with us 16 years now. And so we go up to Millbrook and look at a location and go in there to look at the guy's equipment, and he was wanting out bad. So I just kind of filled him out, got his opinion of different things. And within an hour, we not only buy his equipment, but get in touch with the person that owned the property and made a deal on the property. And we went in to buy possibly a few pieces of equipment, and an hour later, we had another store. And it was just awesome, and made a deal with the landowner.
So when you're looking for growth, like, do you just like, trying to word this real quick, are you always ready for the next opportunity in business?
Always got my eyes open.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, like I said, if the right opportunity were to come in Prattville, we would love to get back up there.
How do you stay ready for it?
Try to keep training people so you have a person to put in place if and when something like that were to happen.
Gotcha.
You bring that up. Just about every Monday morning, we have a conference room in our Madison location. And so usually the first Monday of the month, we have our managers in and we're coaching. Half of it is business and half of it may be inspirational. Speaker come in and motivational. And then the second one is the assistant managers, and the third Mondays are the third guy on the counter, the sales manager on the counter. So we try to constantly train.
Okay. All right. And what made you want to put the training in place?
You have to.
You have to?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you learned like years back, like with turning stores around, was just lack of training was one of the things?
Yes, lack of communication more than anything.
Expand on that, the communication side
Sure.
of it. Yeah.
You may have great ideas, but nobody's listening to them. And what I mean by that is, You may be the assistant. You may be the guy that's changing oil and tires. But you may have some good ideas, but because of what you're doing, nobody wants to hear what you've got to say. Well, everybody started out that guy or the young guy, and everybody's different. That's a different mindset. Doesn't mean it's wrong. So we may be able to learn something from them. But yes, when I was with corporate, that was one positive thing.
How do you keep the communication open? Is it the meetings that you're talking about? Like how do you? Because to me that's almost a culture, right? Like a culture.
No, that's right.
Yeah. So how do you instill that culture within your company?
Fair enough. You, in athletics or whatever, a team is a team. Quarterback's only as good as the line that's in front of him.
Yeah.
And so that's what we go at. I'm not the boss. I tell all my folks, if that comes up real quick, the person that walks through that front door is your boss. We all have a position here. Not one position means more than another one, but we all have to do our job the best we can for us to be who we want to be. Mine happens to be administrative mostly now. Doesn't mean I don't like to go to the counter and enjoy that, but if we all do our job the best we can, no matter what it is, and I'm an Alabama fan, so let's use Coach Saban. He says, if you do your job the best on this play, this is all you think about, this play. So you think about that one person. That may be the only one you see today. I hope not, but let's treat them like it is.
Yeah.
And like they own this place. Because like I say, I tell my guys, the people that walk through that front door sign your paycheck, not me.
Yeah.
And I want you to treat them like that and treat them with respect that way. And that's our mindset.
Yeah, and I think after listening to that, I think you're making sure that the people that are on your team know they're valued.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
I mean, because we all started somewhere.
Yeah.
We just didn't wind up there.
Yeah.
And I don't want that person that thinks this is what I want to be all my life. I want the person that wants to grow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoy, let's see, on our counter in Millbrook, 2 out of the 3, including the manager, Madison, 2 out of 3. No, all 3 of the folks on Madison and 2 of the folks at Bell Road started out changing oil and tires. And they've got, you try to find people's strengths.
Yeah.
And if I see someone that's got an awesome personality, okay, there's relationship skills. Let's watch them and see how they do this job. And then if they give you their best on this job, possibly we can move them to a different job, Their strength may not be mechanical, but they may have great relationship skills.
Yeah.
So let's see if we can grow them inside.
Yeah. It's funny you say that because a lot of people don't know because I'm in real estate now,
Right.
but I was a mechanic. I
Correct.
still got my L1 master
I remember.
certificate.
I would have loved to have had you.
I appreciate it. But that was one of the big shifts. And like thank God I was self-aware enough to realize that I was really, really good at working on cars. And I loved it, but I was better at dealing with the people. Mm-hmm. And that was what I realized my strength was that communication and things like that. Sure. So do you reward your like when you see something like happen that's a good thing, like the guy's changing the oil and helps the lady get something out of the car, you see something positive like that, do you reward that automatically, or is it like delayed? Like how do you instill that going back to that you're valuable, that you want them to grow? How do you deal with that?
Well, we may just talk about it. I don't one thing would not change, but it may get me thinking.
Yeah.
And let's watch and see if this was just a good day and he just happened to do that because I'm standing there.
Yeah.
Or let's see if that's constant.
Yeah.
And someone that treats people right and it's constant and you can say that's real, it's real. Yeah. It's not fake because you're trying to impress people. That's a guy you take and try to work through the chart.
Yeah. Got it. So, all right. So you found going back to, I want to stay on the timeline.
Sure, I'm sorry.
No, I love it. Back to the timeline. So we're at the Millbrook location. What year is this? When you went in and you bought the equipment, ended up, I'm assuming
it was now 5 years ago.
5 years ago.
Hard to believe.
Yeah, that doesn't. Yeah.
That's the little store now.
Yeah, the little store. So 5 years ago, which would have been 2019, you did that. That was your
in the middle of COVID.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was the middle of COVID. Yeah. What was that like because you opened up a store in COVID?
Right. We have the city of Millbrook to thank and everyone related to that because, you get nervous. Hey, what's going to happen? We'd never been through anything like that before. but we were taking care of a lot of the city's vehicles. And the mayor says, "Look, you ain't got anything to worry about. We need you.
Yeah.
We've got to have you.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry." I said, "That's all I needed to hear. We're gonna rock and roll now."
Yeah.
And that's how we went through that and grew through that. And we had outgrown the location we were at, and wound up buying the property across the street and building a
That
building
was
there.
recent too.
That actually, it was August was 3 years ago.
It has been already 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah. Okay.
So it's been awesome. Everybody's been great to us. The area understand that we really do believe to take care of people.
Yeah.
And I believe they understand we really mean that. That's not fake. That we want to take care of folks. We want to build relationships. We want to see you at the grocery store and you feel like you can wave and let's have a conversation. You know, it's not all business.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you make sure that the people working for you embrace that as well? Is it through the training? Is it through the values? Or is it, if they don't fit, they don't fit?
Correct.
Okay. All right.
That's basically it. If we find out that you don't feel the same way we do,
Yeah.
and you don't look at this past being a job,
Yeah.
and that the people that walk in our building, without them, we're not here. I want some value. I want some ownership, and I don't care what position you're in. If you show me that this means more to you than just a job, then we're going to do everything we can to progress you to something different.
Yeah, yeah, and I know you have a lot of. Speaking of like seeing people at the grocery store, you do a lot of community involvement too.
Right. Well, that's fun. I
Yeah.
mean, that's relationships, and
Yeah.
and we want to give back, and everybody, we've been blessed, and thank you so much for everything that people have done for us. So we're in a position that sometimes we can say thank you and give things back too.
Yeah, yeah, that's cool. What do you think is because you've had a long road as far as or a long history of being in the industry and a lot of success along the way. What do you think is like the biggest thing that's attributed to your success?
I say this all the time, but you're the same way. It doesn't cost anything to be nice.
Yeah.
It's that simple,
Yeah.
and treat people like you want to be treated.
Yeah.
That sounds corny, but those things work. I
Yeah.
mean, and we've tried to also have a mindset of not being satisfied and looking to tomorrow. And okay, what we do today reflects on tomorrow. If you're treating people right, well, you're going to get a slow growth. If you're not treating people right, you may not have a slow down trend. You may have a big
It'll
downtrend.
be a cliff. Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't want to be that guy that tries to see how much I can charge you today and never see you again. We want, like you mentioned earlier, we want to be the team that, grows ours by you going and telling somebody, hey, they treated me right. You need to go see these guys. And I appreciate those referrals. That means more than anything, more than any advertising, is somebody being satisfied and telling their friend or neighbor or family, hey, these folks treat me right. That's where you need to go.
Yeah, that's one thing that's probably gives more fuel to my fire than anything is like a referral and someone says just great things about you,
Right.
because I feel, and maybe you experience some of this too, but some of that little bit of imposter syndrome. It's like, am I doing a good job?
Correct.
And just that little bit of feedback, encouragement goes such a long way.
Right.
Yeah. So being nice to people, that's all it's about, right?
And being educated, I mean, you got to
Yeah.
do the work the correct way too, but being nice and giving people what they paid for.
Do you do a lot of education for all of your team members and the store and all of your employees?
I don't understand quite.
Well, like with education, I mean, like you mentioned it on the half of it business, on the meetings and stuff. Do you encourage like for them to go get more certifications?
Oh, yes, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. And
Yeah.
if, here's the way I look at that, and this may be right or wrong because you had all of them. I don't judge my technicians by how many certifications they have because some people just can't take tests.
Yeah.
So some guys have all the knowledge, but sitting down and taking a test may not be their cup of tea.
Yeah.
I'm not going to hold it against that guy that he has all this knowledge, but he can't take a test right. At the same time, to reward the ones that do want to go after that and can do both. We don't. If somebody wants to go take the test and they want to get more education, we pay for that. We've teamed with Trenum at times for different things. I forgot when you asked me that question, but we were on their board for a little while. But as everybody else is seeing in the workforce, it's getting harder and harder for people to understand that they need some knowledge. They think they need to walk in and get paid the same as that guy that's been doing something for 10 or 15 years and has proven themselves
Do you struggle finding employees and people to work?
with the right attitude.
Yeah.
I mean, you can find employees, but we're on a relationship based thing. So I want someone that wants to grow with us, and I want someone that I know is going to treat you right.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're getting harder and harder to find.
How do you deal with that? You just work everybody harder?
Well, no, we're trying. Like I say, we've teamed up with 2 or 3 things to try to get opportunities and teach them once we get them there. I mean, it's about to the point where you're limited on finding folks that already have the experience. So let's reach out there and go outside the box and possibly pick up guys that not in our business at this time and show them that this is fun and it's a positive thing.
Yeah, what do you mean by like going outside of your box, like outside the automotive industry?
Yes.
Where are you looking to kind of capture that, like salespeople or
Well,
what?
the last person that we hired in that, he was he was renting equipment.
Yeah,
Had nothing to do with automotive, but he had great relationship skills, and he's a good person. And if you've got those, we can teach you the rest.
yeah. I think that's like sales in general, right? And that's what
Yeah,
I even tell the agents, like at first call, it's the, you know, sales is such a great thing because sales is sales is sales. Whether it's
correct.
selling toilet paper or houses or service for your car, like
Right.
it's all the same thing. It's
You're
such an
right.
invaluable skill to have. So that's interesting because I feel like so many people and business owners in general, when they're looking to grow, they stay within their box, right? And there's so much other
And the
opportunity.
box is getting smaller.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Do you in your industry? Do you like where do you see like the auto? Because when like the automotive industry going, are you finding it more challenging to work on the cars that are coming out today, or
Well, they're building a lot of things now that, for instance, you used to rebuild an alternator or starter. That people wouldn't even know what that is now.
yeah, yeah,
So many things are throwaway.
yeah,
So you still, and that's what we've spoke at high schools before. If you love computer games and video games and stuff like that, mechanics may be exactly where you want to be going forward because you hook up a computer and everything, your brakes have sensors on them. Everything's got sensors, so it's fun. It's not as dirty as it used to be.
yeah,
So you're going to hook a computer up to check this computer, and it's going to talk back to you and give you codes, and you get to go to a flow chart and
yeah,
figure out this, follow A. If A's not it, follow B. So, like I say, it's not your granddad's automotive business anymore.
yeah.
And it's a lot related to electronics and
And things just becoming more like if this breaks, you just like brakes just replace it.
it has been, yes.
Yeah. Are the cars becoming like that as well?
Well, you see the warranties going down from the manufacturers.
I didn't realize that. But what do you like? Because used to you get like 100,000 mile warranty. They're
Yeah,
not doing
a
that
lot of
anymore?
those folks that were given 100 now give 60.
Really?
Yes.
Huh. Wonder why.
Well, it may go back to that workforce,
Oh.
and they may not be able to pick up the same quality worker that they did 10 years ago,
Oh, to keep the vehicle on the road.
or to build it as it was 10 years ago. The quality of inside the transmission or engine.
Gotcha. And also, I guess you'd keep sales going up that way too.
That's
If you,
true.
if you only got a car that lasts 60, 100,000 miles, I put 50, 60,000 miles
In
a
a
year.
year?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, me too.
All the time. All the time. So, what is one of the biggest, like, when you went off on your own and you started Don Duncan All American Tire, what's one of the things that you thought was going to be a big challenge, but just you excelled at?
The financial side.
Really? Like
I mean,
running the books or the
not
process?
running the books, but making sure you put enough money in the bank to make sure you take care of all these families that are dependent on you. And so,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
you want to make sure that the decisions they made to come with you were positive for them. I mean, because we've got, I think, 32 employees now. Well, that's 32 families. Is that 100 people, 200 people? There's no way to know. So my decisions, I have to make decisions that these folks can count on too. They never think that way probably, but you and I do, you
Yeah,
know.
all the time.
These folks are depending on me to make good decisions and do things the right way as well for their survival and for taking care of their kids and taking them on vacations and stuff. So that looked like a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
And but we've overcome that and we've been blessed and it's been fun.
Yeah, yeah. How do you? So one of the things that I get really overwhelmed with that, and sometimes
Sure.
like that responsibility of it all. How do you deal with that? Or do because you just you get overwhelmed. How do you just have that faith again? So
Again, we're here for a reason.
yeah,
Let's just kick butt. I
yeah.
mean, I mean, just
Stay present, maybe. Yeah,
yeah. I like to be at the locations and shake hands and stay focused with the guys and let them know that I do believe in them. And but behind the scenes, you may think I'm just wandering around not doing anything, but I'm trying to find the best deal for them on benefits, insurance, at good quality, those things. So behind the scenes things, trying to make it the best opportunity for them and also stay a family oriented business so we all know who each other is and take care of each other. I
yeah,
guess that would be it.
yeah. You've got some people that you were mentioning that have been with you 14, 15, 16 years.
Right.
How do you is it just making sure they feel valuable is the biggest thing, or is there something else?
Well, and I think the fact that they see that we promote within, so you're not locked into a certain position like, that guy didn't give me an
I was
opportunity.
about to say, yeah, and I meant to say that is because I feel when businesses limit their employees, like you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot because if you don't give them room to grow, they're going to go grow somewhere
Someone
else.
will, that's right.
Yeah, yeah,
So that's kind of what we try to do too is give them the opportunity to grow. But we've been blessed. We talked about the new workforce, but pretty much if someone has been with us 3 or 4 years, they may have been 10 or 15.
yeah,
It's just getting that person to come in and trust us on the starting level that no, this is where you're going to start, but you are going to get the opportunity to grow. We were talking about out of the box again, real quick. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
Um, One of the guys that started out changing oil and tires for us this year, he was in a nursing home as an aide. Great skill. I didn't even know this when he came to work for us, but he came in and learned how to change oil and tires and doing a good job and had relationship skills. And he and I were going to pick up a vehicle one day, got to talking about where he come from, this kind of stuff. And he was actually an aide at a nursing home when he started with us. And he was just tickled to death and loving it. He loves cars, and he's now working the counter at Bell Road and doing an awesome job. And the greatest thing about someone like that, they've never been in the business before. So if you ask them to do it this way, they don't know any better.
Yeah,
They do it the way you ask them to do it.
they don't have any bad
No,
habits.
and they don't. Well, I don't know. That's not how we did it where I was. Well,
Yeah.
he doesn't do any of that. He just does what you ask him to do, and he treats people great. So
Do you think like the counter guys? Do you try to push for them to have experience? Like, do they need to know how to change oil to be able to sell an oil change?
no,
No.
I
Okay.
don't think so.
Yeah.
But you need to respect the guy that is.
Got it.
That's the biggest thing to me. If you started out there, you've earned respect because those guys know you've been there, and you respect them because you know what their job consists of and what they go through each day too, trying to make these other things happen.
Yeah.
But no, I don't think that's necessary. As long as you understand that person's job and respect that person, you don't think you're better than someone because you started out inside. Again, we go back to the team thing. All of us have a position to play, and not one is more important than the other. But if we're all doing our job great, then that's the final outcome.
Got it. Got it. Is there anything that you just struggled with, or let me put this a different way? What's the biggest challenge you've had running Don Duncan All American Tire?
Um, that's a good one. There's been several, but
What's the first one that comes to your mind?
well, people, especially now, this day and time.
When did it start, like, become, because you said especially now, like, when did you start to see that transition where people...
COVID,
COVID?
when they were paying people more to stay home than they could make working.
Got it.
It created a different mindset in people's head. Somebody's going to take care of me. I don't have to work any longer. Well, that's gone now. but that mindset's still there.
Yeah.
And it's hard. I would have never thought in my life people wouldn't want to have a work ethic, you know.
Yeah.
Look at you. You're young, but you
Yeah.
got a work ethic.
Yeah.
But how many people at your age do anymore?
It baffles me, to be quite honest with you. And just my generation just doesn't want a lot, you
Right.
know. And to me, I'm the oddity out, you know, that I want to go do things, and my why has changed a lot. Now it's like how can I build something that people want to be a part of and want to come to and help other people, you
Right.
know, like, you know. But no one seems to want that. They just want to wake up and go.
And I don't.
Yeah.
I don't understand that. I always wanted to drive. I wanted to be better than the guy I'm working beside. I
Yeah.
wanted the company,
Yeah.
the guy down the street.
Yeah.
I wanted you to be happy that you came to do business with me and glad that you came. At the same time, that I don't know if it's athletic or whatever, but that drive is
Yeah.
not only do I want you here, but I want to be the best. I don't want to be one of the best.
Yeah.
We're not here to be
best.
second.
No, we're not here to be second.
In what you do, I can see your goals and your drive,
Yeah.
and you want to be the best at what you do.
Yeah, and I think that's just, to me, it comes so naturally. But you're right with and maybe it is COVID, because a lot of things have changed since COVID, you know. But I think the mindset of people in general, they're just happy to not progress in any type of way in life, which
Right.
is just
So where are you going to be in 10, 20 years?
right
you
where
know?
they're at. Yeah, and they're
That's-
okay with that, though.
yeah,
That's the crazy part.
I
you
don't
know?
understand it.
Yeah.
That's a question that I ask when we are interviewing folks. Okay, where do you want to be in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? And I like, hopefully they have a different answer for all three of those.
Yeah.
But there are times, well, I don't really know.
Wherever the wind blows.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you look for in employees? Like when, what name your ideal candidate, like, coming on to Don Duncan. So,
Relationship skills and goal oriented.
okay.
Somebody like we're talking about, somebody that does want to be there. Like, for instance, when I was working for other people, when I would interview, somebody that would sit there and tell me they want my job, I like that guy.
Yeah.
There's people that would be scared of that guy because they were afraid he'd take their job.
Yeah.
I was never that way.
Yeah.
I felt like if I got you ready to do my job, that was my job.
Yeah.
And other folks would would see that, and that would help me grow with whoever that may be.
Yeah.
You don't see as much of that as you used to.
No, you don't. Speaking of your job, what does your job entail now? Like, we've kind of touched on it a little bit, but, you said mainly admin role or, operations,
Right.
But what does that look like?
I guess a managing operator. I still am hands-on. And I love to get caught up when my office is at Madison, but I love to get caught up and then get out of the office and shake hands and meet people and just, enjoy telling people thank you for everything they've done for us and float around and, like you and I both do, go to different events and meet other folks and ask for opportunities to prove yourself to them.
Yeah. Do you have like a pretty systemized schedule you stick to every day?
No.
No.
I mean, you go in thinking that, but I don't have to tell you. It's usually by lunchtime. That's all changed.
Yeah. Do you have so it's just like kind of reactive every day, or do you have like certain things you have to get done every day?
No, that's right. The first 2 hours is pretty much the same thing every day, and it's more to do with admin and making sure everything's good at the bank and
got it.
Everything's paid and everybody's happy, and then from there. Depending on the day, it may be inventory, it may be checking this, checking that. I like to try to be caught up with those things by lunch, so that I can float around after lunch.
That's my goal. Like, I try to get I don't know who I heard it from, but I heard something along the lines of the mornings are for making money and afternoons for appointments, right?
That's right.
And so I try to clear my afternoons for those pivot times, so. Do you wish you could? Do you enjoy what you do?
I love what I do.
Yeah,
that's the thing. I still love what I do. I enjoy helping people. I enjoy meeting folks. This is great. That's what blows my mind when the generation we're talking to don't get it.
Yeah.
This is fun, man. This ain't work.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, that's always been my goal, and I struggle with it sometimes. Like, I don't have fun along the way for the pressure of just running a business, But when I do when I do realize and take that, make sure I have fun along the way, it makes it so much easier, and you forget you're working.
Right.
You know?
We've been blessed with an incredible team from top to bottom, and that makes it fun. It gives me the time to go do. But if I get to wait on someone at the counter, that's great. That's fun. I'm helping them. We're getting to know each other. Again, I don't believe it's selling because we just educate.
Yeah.
So yeah, I still love what I do.
What's the favorite? What's your favorite thing to do? Like, I'll let you get some water.
Sure.
But what's your favorite thing to do as far as is it dealing with the customer still? Is it helping an employee figure something out? Is it problem solving?
That's fair. And probably like you, all three of those.
Yeah.
I hope that I can help an employee. I would like to think that if they have issues with its family or whatever away from work, that they feel comfortable enough to talk to me and see if I can help maybe, or we can figure out someone that can help. I love working the counter, meeting people. I guess a combination of those three.
Yeah.
I guess, and you act like you're from my generation.
Yeah.
But
I do tell people I feel like I was raised a generation behind.
Yeah.
Which is
because
good
we're
and-
problem solvers, or
Yeah.
want to be, and
Yeah.
that's what bugs me. If there's something that gets to me, is if I see something and I can't help that person, or they won't allow me to help. When I've been, I'm a lot older than you.
Yeah.
I've been doing this business more than you've been alive.
Yeah.
But I've made a lot of mistakes, and I hope that I could teach people things through those mistakes, and maybe they don't make the mistakes that I've made.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny you mentioned wanting to help someone and not being able to. That's one of the things that bother me too. It's just like you're just like, please just do this one
Right.
thing or just try this,
Right.
So
I've learned that it works better if, instead of telling someone, suggesting.
yes.
So it's their idea.
Yeah, for sure. Where do you see? Are you still wanting to open up more locations and grow that way, or what's your we'll call it a 2-year plan? So.
Fair enough. If the right location in the right area were to open up, I would like to do that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Any
We're definitely not closed to that.
not close to it. Okay.
No.
Yeah. Where do you want to be in 5-10 years?
Alive.
Alive.
Remember, I'm older than you are.
You're not that old. And
no.
by the way, the ones that are just listening, I mean, you're in great shape. You go to the gym every day still, right?
Well, I don't know about every day, but
Not every day?
we try to take care of ourselves.
Yeah.
And that's fun too. I mean, that's competitive. You're competing against yourself, so it's
Yeah.
the same thing.
How important, because I'm big on taking care of myself the best I can, which I've slacked off here lately. But do you put a big importance on that? And
Yes.
Why do you? Yeah.
Well, we don't know how long we're going to be here.
Yeah.
But I feel like in my mind that if I take care of me, hopefully I'll be here a little longer. And again, it goes back to being competitive.
Yeah.
And this is away from work, but you can still compete with yourself. If you're in the gym, it doesn't matter what this guy's doing or this person's doing.
Yeah.
It's all about you. And did you beat yesterday? You
Yeah.
know? And that's my mindset as far as when I get in there.
I like that. Be better than the person you were yesterday.
Correct.
Yeah,
Right.
I like that a lot. So what are the things that you're like? Is it just still the trying to get more employees in, or is business still good as far as are you still on a growth pattern for bringing in more car counts and things? Or
Yes. The biggest deal again would be hiring more people. I could use a minimum of 3 more techs right now, not replacing anyone. Just we've been so blessed and people are so good to us, and I don't like the fact that sometimes they have to wait longer for their vehicle than I would prefer to be able to get to it a lot faster.
what is your what do you try to do? Is it within a day? I mean, some jobs take 2 or 3
Correct.
days, right? But so I want to go in and I want to get my oil changed. I want to get my tires rotated. And you tell me I need brakes, and I say yes, do front and rear brakes, and maybe a diff service or something like that. Do you want that to be done within a day?
Yes.
Or? Yeah.
So you brought that in at lunch or on your way to work.
Yeah.
I would like for you to be able to pick that up on your way home.
Got it.
Like you say, that should be a normal day thing. And again, during COVID and due to COVID on some things still, things that used to take a day or less The part availability is not what it used to be either
Yeah.
in the last 3 years.
Yeah. Is it starting to get better
It is
now?
getting better in some things, but again, it just depends on the
Is it the
particular day.
is it the electronic side of things that are still struggling to get parts in, or because I know there for a while it was like anything oil, like tires and
Right.
stuff like that, you couldn't get, and then it was electronics because of the microchips or what have you.
Well, I think we talked about the workforce. I think that reflects in everything,
Yeah.
and so it could be as much as an alternator. I
Yeah.
mean, that would you would think should be on the shelf and be able to call a warehouse and get, but they may not have where they would have stocked 5 years ago. They may stock one, it's gone, so now it's going to be 3 days before they have one. I
Yeah.
mean, so it's not a specific thing,
Yeah.
but I go back to the workforce. It's affecting everything in every chain. My mom was in a nursing home. She passed away in January, and I saw she was there almost a year. When we got there, there were there was pretty 8 patients to an aide. Okay, which is still in my mind a lot.
That's a lot of people to take care of for one person.
By the time she passed away, it was 15, 16 to 1/8. And that's realistic. And I'm not saying it's right. You don't want to think of this as healthcare, but it's still the workforce.
Yeah.
And if something happened right now, if that person's spending 5, 10 minutes per person, it may be 2 hours before they're back in your room, and it's not their fault. It's just because nobody else is at work. They're overburdened and overloaded, and it's no different than any other job now. The workforce is. They can say that there's no problem and the unemployment is great. You'll have a hard time making me believe that.
Yeah. What do you think the solution is to the workforce?
I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't. I
Oh,
wish I did know the answer to that
Yeah.
question.
Yeah.
So you made me nervous.
No.
But I don't know, and it's not getting any better no matter what field you're in.
Yeah. Yeah. I struggle just trying to get people to do their job, like just in general, anything, I mean, going to fast food or
Right.
all the way to like, like luxury services, just show up,
Just like you said, if you'll show up and be your best at whatever you're doing, you're going to rise quickly. I mean,
Yes.
because so many people don't think that way anymore. So, whatever you're doing, just be the best at it, and you're going to take off.
It's funny you bring that up. It was a couple weeks ago. Within the company, we do Monday morning huddles, and it's through Zoom. It's the only thing we do through Zoom. But the Monday morning huddles, that's what I was talking about, was that the cost of excellence is so cheap right now. It doesn't take much to be a rock star in your
Correct.
industry. All you have to do, 80% of it's just showing up and being on time.
Correct.
If you can do that, you are leaps and bounds ahead of anyone else.
You're right.
So, but it is funny you say that, and I don't know what the solution is either, because I think, like you said, I do think it's mindset. It's people not wanting things, and I think we may just have so much of a cush life,
And they don't want them now, but 10 years from now, they're going to want them, but they didn't set themselves up to get to that point.
Yeah, yeah. It's going to be interesting how things play out.
Yeah.
So.
In your business, real quick, I try to talk two of my guys into actually getting pre-approved before the interest rates took off.
Yeah, yeah.
And they got tired. I mean, they were in their early 20s, and
Yeah.
I try to get them to go, hey, go ahead and get this. It's going to be good for you. They're not looking 5, 10 years from now, and they're thinking these interest rates are going to stay there forever. That was a year ago.
Yeah.
Now they're wishing they had.
Yeah. And I think a lot of it is I think a lot, which is both good and bad, right? But I was thinking about the other day, everything we do in life right now is pretty instant gratification, right? There's
Right.
nothing that you have to wait on.
We're all microwave, huh?
Yeah, we are, and I mean, it's like if you want to know something, you Google it. If you want something, if I wanted, a burger right now, I go on my phone and within 15 minutes, someone will bring it to me,
Right.
So that instant gratification is a real thing. And I think a lot of times that's affecting that 5-10 year plan, right?
Yeah.
Where the people in normally can't see past 2, 3, 4 years.
Right.
They can't see to the end of the year. They can barely see to the end of the week,
You're right.
So, but I think that has a lot to do with it too. So, and it's funny you bring that up. I try to tell people and bring them ahead of the curve and things like that, but it's tough. You just can't get them to do it.
No,
So
they're looking at today.
yeah. So, but anyway, so back to your world.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. Back to the automotive industry. I know that you said a lot of your growth and stuff your growth and your success was due to treating people right. And I think that's phenomenal, and I think that's a great foundation. Do you do anything else? Do you do a lot of advertising to bring people in to build the brand?
We, yeah, we have branded ourselves, and we kind of try to figure out where our niche is, as far as advertising. We've done some things that we thought would work that didn't, and we've learned some things that have worked for us. And that's kind of the direction we've went. Obviously, social media is huge now.
Yeah.
They may not watch TV, but they're going to be on their telephone.
Yeah. Everybody's on it.
Right. So, yeah, we try to make sure people know who we are. One more thing that I've tried to make sure we do from day one is I told our team we're going to outwork everybody else. Like you say, this mindset of blah, 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 no urgency, that drives me crazy. So we try to outwork everyone else.
How do you set goals and standards with your employees, like as far as metrics and things they have to meet?
Oh, sure. And I'll also throw this out in that section. We don't have anybody on commission. My salespeople are on salary.
Yeah.
They don't. So I'd never want anyone to try to sell you something on a Friday that they wouldn't try to sell you something on a Monday.
Yeah. Yeah.
We all have a budget. We all have bills to pay. So that person that's on commission on Monday, everything's great.
Yeah.
But by Friday, if they haven't hit what they needed to pay their bills, they may look at things differently. So we don't have people like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Fair enough, because like when I was I was only on commission.
Right.
And I realized it very quickly when in that field. It was like people were going to do it or not, you know. So and mainly I just tried to be at a shop that had enough work. So do you were you ever at a time where you had people on commission that made you go to salary, or was that just from day one?
No,
salary?
on our counter they're all on salary. My excuse me. My mindset was that I never want to put that guy in the position to do something he wouldn't necessarily do.
Tracking.
Also don't want him to try to ruin my reputation by doing something he shouldn't be doing. Now, we are on production. I give them goals that we want to beat last year, obviously. But that's more by taking care of people and the slow growth. If you're satisfied and you recommend us to your friends, then we should just automatically grow. It's not about having to go sell a bunch of stuff that people may or may not need. It's about taking care of these people and making sure that we see you again in 6 months for an oil change or rotation or whatever. And if for some reason we haven't, why?
Yeah. Do you do a lot of follow-up with your client or your customers? As far as do they get a lot of stuff in the mail and because you've been pushing it, or is the relationship more just like face-to-face and calling and checking in and,
We did that in the past. The input that I got was, how many emails do you get?
A lot.
That you get rid of?
A lot, yeah.
So the input that I got was, and it may not be that with everyone, but I got that they get tired of deleting emails.
Yeah.
So we don't do that as much as we do face-to-face or interacting different things or running into people or shaking hands or stuff. So if that's wrong, I apologize. But that's the input I was getting from my customers and my friends that trade with us is don't send me this or don't do this. I'm going to be back. So, I mean, because we used to send a thank you letter for you coming by or doing this or doing that. And it got to the point where it was kind of getting to be a negative thing instead of a positive thing, and I never wanted it to be that.
Well, that's probably a good problem to have. You got so much business, you were sending so much mail, people were like, stop.
Well, yeah, I guess
that's probably a good thing. Yeah.
But that was the input that we were getting.
Got it. If you could go back and change anything or make a different decision through your career, what would it be?
Well, I guess one we did make, but I would have never done it, was putting someone else's name on the sign.
Yeah.
And after that, we did change that. As you notice, all the signs have our name on it now.
Yeah.
But that might be one. But I don't usually dwell on what happened
Yeah.
yesterday. Let's go that direction.
I look up to you on that. Yeah, yeah. Not a whole lot of people have such short-term memory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If
So
I made a mistake, I made it. There's nothing. We
yeah,
can't do anything about that. Let's fix it and go forward.
yeah. That's awesome. If you could tell somebody, if someone was just starting off and wanted to, open up their own automotive shop, what are some things you would tell them?
Um, Never be satisfied,
Yeah.
and like I said, outwork
Outwork.
the other team, because there's a lot of places. There's no urgency. You know, you got folks sitting around smoking cigarettes or this or that, or you know, standing around talking, and you got folks wanting those cars out there.
Yeah.
And you can ride by, and you've been in the business, you've seen it. I don't ever want us to be that, and be relationship oriented. I guess those would be the things, and do what you say you're going to do.
That's a big one. Do what you say you're going to do. What's the biggest, when you mentioned relationships a lot and the importance of them, but what do you think, one or two relationships you can think of that have helped you out the most?
Sure, and you also, this guy was my mentor when I was working, when I first got started, and I wound up getting transferred to Columbus, Georgia. I was the service manager at a 10 Bay location, and he was my store manager. And I learned so much from him because he motivated positively. The guys I had worked for prior to that,
Kind of like
and
fear mongering.
correct.
Yeah.
And if you don't do this, you want next week off. He was never that way. Even if you necessarily didn't do it his way, he would come across and ask you, well, look, what if we did it this way? What's the warranty for the customer? Which one's going to give them the better job?
Yeah.
But and that type of thing, and coached me, and I hope I'm that way. That's what I want to be. Is I want to motivate positively and not be the guy that's back there chewing your butt. Especially this day and time,
Yeah.
people won't stand for it.
No.
They'll go find another job. So,
Yeah.
his name was David Epperly, and he had 4 locations in the Phoenix City, Columbus area. Someone came in 11 years ago and bought those from him and
Yeah.
rent the building from him, and he's doing great now. But I still, to this day, if there's a decision I'm not sure about, I give him a call.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Do you think you could have done it without the relationships?
No,
No.
I think anybody that's going to be not long term. I think if you're going to be successful in what I do or what you do, people need to be able to trust you.
Yeah.
And once you trust each other, you're not selling anything.
No.
There's no sales involved in.
Yeah. That's what it makes me feel so good, and I'm sure you hear it too. Is that if I call a client like, hey, we need to do X, Y, and Z, they say, just do it. I
Right.
trust you.
Exactly.
It's like, yes,
We've been there.
yes, yeah, yes.
You told me what we needed to do, and
Yeah.
you're the specialist in your business, and I
Yeah.
trust you, and
Yeah,
it works out.
for sure. So, well, that's awesome, man. I think we'll kind of wrap it up there. But before we go, I do want to ask you a couple more questions.
Okay.
Kind of ask
We'll
everybody
grab some
on here.
water.
Yeah, yeah. Get ready.
This is water.
Yeah. So, do you read a lot?
Not as much. I cheat. I might listen to
What's your
books on
favorite? Yeah. What's your favorite book?
I don't know that I've got a favorite, but I love biographies. I like motivational people. Tim Tebow.
Yeah.
You either like him or you don't. I love him. I think he stands for the right things, and I think
Yeah.
he's trying to push the right things in people's minds. Obviously, I'm an Alabama fan, so I love Coach Saban.
Yeah.
One of my favorite books he released a long time ago, Who Do You Want to Be?
Huh. I've not
And-
read that one.
and
I'll
it's-
put it on my list.
It's and it's basically what you and I are talking about, setting goals and let's accomplish this. Okay, that's done. What's your next goal?
Yeah.
Are you going to sit there or are you going to go?
Okay. All right. Next question is: if you could have dinner with anyone, past, present, or future, who would it be?
My dad.
Your dad?
Mm.
That's awesome.
Don't have me crying in here.
No, I won't do that to you. I won't do that. What's your favorite food?
My wife's a great cook, so
Did she
Gosh.
did she tell you to say this?
no, man,
Okay.
she
All right. Yeah.
all the kids can tell you that. So shoot, I don't think I could pick one thing.
Name one that's one of your favorites. How about that?
Her banana pudding. If you've been to our house on a holiday or it's there, everybody wants to take some home with them.
That's it. Okay. So you a big sweets guy?
Afraid so.
Oh,
That's why
really?
we have to stay in the gym.
Yeah,
Meat and sweet.
yeah, that's it. Um, so we got how you do it, and what's your why, and is your why the same as it is today as it was when you started?
It's grown,
Yeah,
but it's not changed, and it's my family. I mean, that's
yeah,
why we get up and go to work, and now that family includes 8 grandkids. So,
that's awesome.
but we're lucky and proud and blessed. We've got 5 children, and all 5 of them have a work ethic and have worked hard, and they're all doing great. And in this day and time, that's something to be proud of.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you there. So that's fantastic, and I know several of them, and
Yeah, you do.
I think they're great people as
Thank
well.
you.
So,
Thank you.
well, man, I appreciate having you on, and
Thank you so much.
I think this is great. So I'll see you next time.
All right. Thank you.